Objections to that?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know that you can have a non-member be a proxy.
Can you show me where in the CCRs that's the case?
Yeah.
A non-member can't be a proxy for an HOA meeting? A non-owner meeting?
A non-owner.
Can't, where is that in I didn't see that in the CCRs. Can you show me?
Yes, well, it's actually an RCW.
Okay, cause in the CCNRs, it's an RCW. Okay, so it's not in the CCNRs.
Well, it probably is in the CCR. I know Barry.
it's just a
probably-
vote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I
So-
don't know if there's a problem.
I mean,
Technically, it could, yeah.
I mean, it just if you, we certainly want to comply with the rules, clearly.
Yeah.
One way to look at this is,
Tom,
maybe some of the challenges of having
we
Julie
need
here
to
in the past,
understand
maybe won't be here
who's
by
in the meeting, who's
Yeah.
not.
might be,
Yeah.
if there's no objections to it.
Yeah.
But of course, we want to follow the rules, and if it's there, then, you know,
Since we're not, I mean, we don't,
yeah.
we didn't bring where's the bind of the CCRs, but we won't do that, right now. Could you submit that
Yes.
to me,
Yes.
in an electronic form?
Yeah, I got a DocuSign for you,
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
DocuSign.
Perfect.
Like first class.
Super first class, yeah, it's remote, so just wanted to explain. I was hanging out today.
Okay, I'm gonna pass this along. I can have everybody sign in. Perfect. I'm gonna sacrifice a pen. Okay, so we're gonna bring this meeting underway here. So, this is a, kind of a two-part meeting. So we've got the, vote for board, and then we've got the budget ratification. So, I guess we probably start with, let's go budget ratification. It was, yes, Bob,
Is this an annual meeting?
an annual meeting.
Is this the annual meeting?
The annual all owners meeting.
That's what I have it on my calendar as.
Yeah.
Yes, this would be, well, let's see, or was the one that we had previously, not the emergency meeting, but the one previously, the, annual meeting. I don't know.
The annual meeting is specifically called for in the CCNRs and bylaws as being in January, and there's an actual agenda that we're supposed to follow.
So.
Which we haven't followed for years, by the way.
No, but anyway, the idea is, that 14 days ago plus, we had, the,
Wait a minute. If this isn't the annual meeting, when are we gonna have it? Or, I mean, I'll go get the CCNRs if you want me to go get it. I mean, it's very clear that the meeting in January is an annual meeting. There's an agenda that we're supposed to cover, and we could cover the budget, which would be natural, as well as the election of officers.
Board
Okay.
members,
so.
Yes, thank you, board members.
not
This-
officers.
This being the third meeting of this month in January, we had our budget meeting earlier. We set this date, specifically for the ratification for the board, vote. If we want, I mean, I don't really care what we call it, but I think it qualifies as an annual meeting, if that's what we wanna call it. So, I don't know.
If we do, as we strive to do things better every year,
Mhm.
I'd like to note that we don't have an agenda. There should have been an agenda distributed to everybody before the meeting. I would just say next year, let's do things better.
This year.
This year.
Moving forward for sure. Yeah, no, I'd absolutely love that. I think that, also, I think in years past, we've had a property management group that has conducted, and facilitated our meetings. And, obviously, we're winging it this year a bit, and last year. But absolutely, that is what I think we should absolutely strive for.
Tom, we didn't wing it last year. Cindy ran it last year, and we've got notes from it. And part of the annual meeting is to read the notes from the last annual meeting.
Okay. Okay. So. Let's do this. So as of right now, I don't think I recall seeing an email back from Dave or you, Bob, with regard to the meeting minutes, approval of the meeting minutes for our last meeting, which was the emergency meeting. Is that what you'd like to go over?
No, I think according to the regulations, the
Yeah, I
first
wanna
thing
know
you do
what,
in an
what this
annual
meeting is and what.
is approve
what-
last year's
yeah.
annual meeting
Yeah.
minutes.
Here, let me just read this to you, just so you have it. This is from the bylaws, Article 3, Article 2, annual meeting. Each year for election of directors and transaction of such other businesses may properly come before the association. The meeting shall be held each year during the month of January at a time and day determined by the Board of Directors. Annual meeting, order of business. The order of business at the annual meeting of members shall be as follows. Call the meeting to order, reading of minutes of last annual meeting, reports of officers, reports of committees, if any, election of directors, and F, miscellaneous business.
Okay, so, when it says meeting minutes from last year's annual, I don't know if I have those readily available. Does anybody else?
I probably do, if you give me a minute.
That would be spectacular.
And by the way, you should have all this stuff, or I've got a drive for you. Annual meeting. Draft. 124. I apologize too, I don't have a printer, so I didn't print out copies of everything, but Cindy, why don't you go ahead, since you're kind of acting in this capacity.
What would you like me to do, Tom? Do you want me to read them?
I think that'd be the only way that we'd be able to approve them.
Okay. So the meeting was called to order on January 18th at 6:13. And the attendees include commercial, Dave Ross, Tom Ross, units 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, and 303 represented. Absent were 304, 302, and 301. Quorum for A and B is at 100%. The reading of the 12/22 annual meeting minutes approved and seconded. Vote taken for Board of Directors. First position for residential nominated Bob Reel. Votes for 201, 203, 205. Second position for commercial nominated Dave Ross. Voted yes third position for combined nominated Kathy Wong and Tom Ross. Votes for Kathy and Tom was the majority.
Wait a minute.
Well, it was both, voted for both Kathy and Tom had the majority.
Oh, okay.
New board members effective immediately, Bob Reel, Dave Ross, Tom Ross, and they will decide who holds what position and let us know. Budget discussion. Bob explained the 2024 budget with handouts and answered questions. The new budget includes earthquake insurance and increased HOA dues. The budget ratification meeting is scheduled for January 25th. A representative Western Washington Law Group. A representative from Western Washington Law Group gave a presentation regarding the status of the outstanding lawsuits, and we need to decide if we want to move forward with this. Last year we spent $12,000 on legal fees, but an offer was presented to reduce the fees, but this will also reduce the settlement amount. Meeting adjourned at 7:30. Respectfully submitted by Kathy Wong. Thank you, Kathy. That's it.
Oh, okay. Short and sweet. Motion to accept the minutes as read. Mr. Brill. Second. All in favor of approving the minutes? 100%. Okay. All right. Just out of curiosity, and I don't know about Cindy, Dave. So last year with the budget on the day that we had that, did we have a ratification meeting then 14 days after that? Or
Yeah,
was
that's
that?
what I think it said in there, that
Yes.
it was going to be coming up after this meeting, after the meeting that we just read the minutes from.
Okay.
I vaguely recall it was because there wasn't enough, there has to be that 14-day period of time. Is that your recollection? And I don't think there was
At the time we had
at the time. So it had to be delayed until the 14 days could be completed.
We
Okay.
can still do it now. We've got plenty of time from when we presented the budget and the board had approved it, and then basically it was 30 days almost till now.
Assuming it meets the requirements of the CCNRs
Well,
and passes.
and that's for the vote of A, B, and C. So, and I don't know if you wanna follow this or not, Tom, but, you know, theoretically, we've got, reports of the officers. And if there were any new business, I know that Cindy had sent you something about new business. But that might be new business. No committees to report, election of directors, and miscellaneous business, so.
Do I have any objections for us going ahead and voting on the budget this time? 'Cause I think that was pretty straightforward from, it's last year's budget, basically. Did everybody get a copy of it? Of what we had for last year?
Yeah, I think the one thing, the outstanding question is, you were gonna also put together a commercial budget.
Yeah, so, well, I was gonna, look into that. So I do have somebody working with the commercial group. However, in looking at the requirements, so typically, in the event that if there is joint ownership in commercial, that is where it would be a requirement. Because the commercial is standalone and pays all their own bills, and because it is 100% owned by one entity or one individual, based on, my research, basically says that that isn't something that is required. However, just to let you guys know, I am working with with a bookkeeper to try and add some more, I guess, clarity to that stuff. Cause like I said, there's money that goes from commercial to the OA. But as far as things that go from the OA to back to commercial is limited to one bill, as far as I can tell, at least at this point in time, and that's the reimbursement for irrigation water during the summer.
I think there is another that, I know Dave, is how we split the janitorial work. And, because, Dave obviously wants to have his tenant offices cleaned more frequently than we feel we need to have the hallways and elevators cleaned in the residential.
Okay.
And so there's some duplication of effort there, there's some duplication of common areas, and
Oh, so help me, because like I said, some stuff I know and some of I don't know.
well, I should let Dave speak to that, because that was
Well,
really
what-
his concern, and I think that was one of the things you referred to when you said, you aren't being reimbursed for things that you should. And so if we don't know, in advance what those things are, or within a short period of time, it's hard for us to be able to respond, to say, oh yeah, okay, here, we should do that. And it'd be nice if you said, hey, look, and for example, and that was, a good one, is that every year during summer, when we turn on the irrigation, that comes off of the commercial pipe. And so in the first couple years, when we were doing the internal accounting, we would just kind of take the difference from the monthly and then split the increase during those 3 billing periods, and then provide a credit back to Dave for that increased amount due to irrigation. And since we haven't had those numbers for the last couple of years, we've just kind of, I took the highest number that we had going back, but that's just one example.
So-
And there might be some other things, I'm not sure.
So let's see, this is all helping me out because I don't really know what to tell the bookkeeper either. So with janitorial, I was under the impression that you guys are doing your own thing upstairs and that Dave was doing his own stuff downstairs. Is that?
Yeah, that's basically true, but Dave has 200 and 300. Second floor and third floor,
Okay,
right?
okay, yeah,
And then there's common areas,
all right.
like the lobby and the
Gotcha.
stairwells. So, and again, is it a big deal? I don't know. Is it stuff that's falling through the cracks? I don't know. But in an effort to try and, explain why it's helpful for us to
No,
see that.
yeah, totally, yeah, no, I totally get it. So let's see, so water, janitorial, what about, is there any shared power?
Shouldn't be.
Okay, internet, Wi-Fi, any of that kind of stuff?
I'd like to use some of the internet that Dave has.
Is it good internet? I can't get nothing, so, I don't know.
Yeah.
Cleaning the basement, is there any of that? Garage?
Well, that would all be common.
So, oh, yeah. Okay, landscaping?
Well, that's again common.
No, that's why I'm asking it, because I have to make a list. So landscaping,
If it helps, so
garage,
if it helps, there's a nice broken down list in your CCNRs of what's common, and a good description going down it, if it helps y'all out, if you wanna look at it
Okay.
later. I don't mean to interrupt,
No,
but there's a nice guide in your CCNRs that really discusses it, so.
Okay.
Like what's a shared common element versus something that's specifically one side or the other.
And then you have limited common element like this. Okay, this office is really, it's a common element that's
Mhm.
available to everybody, but It's primarily available to the commercial users.
Really?
No.
We might just need to look at it more carefully, but, I got the impression, I could be wrong. I kinda got the impression when I read it, like all the commercial stuff past the doors over here is just commercial, whereas all of the residential things past, the main doors, like on Suite 200 and Suite
Yeah.
300, there's that door there. So everything past there, that's all the residential in that hallway, past that door. I kinda got that impression, but I leave room for the possibility that I could be incorrect, we can just look at it. So, that was my thought, if it helps, but,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
if it's a problem, right?
That's-
I
don't-
mean, it might not be an issue, but.
that's-
Is it a problem, Dave?
Can't hear you.
Is it a problem?
Well, we discussed this before, and the fact that it's not that hard to figure out what is fair. And, splitting up different expenses that, you're never gonna get it exactly right, because if I see, leaves and stuff outside and I've got the cleaning lady here, I'm gonna have her go out and clean them. And, if it's slippery, we'll treat it. Those kind of things are, to me, it's foolish to track all this stuff in and then clean it inside, clean it outside. Sure. And in fact, there for a couple of years, I had brooms and everything out there when the leaves are on, and that's, 2-3 minutes. And I had our cleaner keep track of where she was for how many minutes, all the time she spent here. To me, it's a problem that we have no control over the other cleaners. I know they haven't even come here some weeks. And yet, it's a contract. Well, cleaning should be an hourly type thing. They should tell you when they're coming, when they're going, so you can check on them to see if they're here. And what it's costing to do it that way. And it should all be documented. Otherwise, you've got no control over what these people are doing, and if they're even here. It kind of reminds me of Boeing's, all those people that never showed up for work.
Yeah, I guess, again, going back to the commercial, residential, and joint, if the residential people are having problems feeling like, gee, our hallways aren't clean, or, things aren't being done, that's our issue. Like, if that's right, if it's behind that door, that's what we're responsible for, then that's okay. Now, yeah, this common area in the lobby, yeah, if we need to do something to, support your work, your people that are doing that, then we ought to identify it, and quantify it.
So, like I said, that's something that I'm working with Sherry on to, get that. It's been a work in progress. So, I don't think, obviously it's been discussed, but I think that moving forward, moving ahead, by having that, and then once again, making sure that if there is, something that needs to be adjusted, then there's accounting for it at the very least. So, okay.
Yeah, I definitely think it would be helpful to have the two budgets on those broad lines. It doesn't have to be, perfect, but as soon as we get it on there once, then the next year, like you do the tracking, and then the next year you can see, okay, where are we off? And it also helps, this is a potential where somebody's being overcharged or undercharged.
Yeah,
So when everybody sees it on the, kinda like when Joe described those lines, I think it would be helpful. I'm not trying to create a bunch of work for you, but I just,
you know,
it's
but at
part
the
of
same
it,
time, you
it'll
know,
say we are
You know, once these things
working
are
with the rules.
established, they should run smoothly
Yeah.
forever.
So it's just a setup, but, yeah.
I haven't seen, and I don't know if it's something I missed, or if no one else has seen, the details of what some of the planned expenditures are. I mean, we have the big categories, but I know we've raised lots of problems over the year. Concerns, security, the 20 years or whatever of filth in the garage, and the lighting in the garage. Is there detail on categories to be shared so that we know what we're voting on?
well, so,
Did you guys, talk about some of the things that we've raised as concerns to prioritize, to maybe tackle a couple of them?
You mean
in
like
the
if it
year?
says maintenance, like more specific?
Yeah,
Like
yes.
how much is gonna be put towards this, how much is gonna be put towards that?
I'm wanting to know what of some of these areas that have been challenges in this past year, the board has targeted to look at in this year.
so last year, oh, the year before that, we had T-Square come in and do a, basically an overall on the building, you know, things to think about, you know, how many years out you should be planning for this stuff. And I think it addressed almost everything, that, you know, even with some, you know, budget allowances for, I think that's probably what Bob went to go get, but even some allowances for, you know, some of that unknown stuff. But, everything from, taxes to, you know, annual, you know, fire, inspection, you know, panel inspection, smoke detector, or smoke, or fire extinguishers, maintenance on the elevator with the, it's not a warranty, but it's a,
Contract.
Maintenance plan?
maintenance plan, I guess you'd call it. You know, they brought up, you know, the roof, and what they thought that, you know,
Are you
those.
talking about the reserve study?
Yeah, they went, it was a reserve study, but it was, in my opinion, it was like a more in-depth, it was more than just your typical reserve study. So is that what you were?
No, I just wanna know if we're being asked to approve a budget, are any of these things that are concerns being addressed? I'm sure everybody has their favorite bugaboo and they're all different.
It wasn't shared with us yet.
So I haven't seen that.
We've
I
only
hate how
seen the
filthy the
high-level-
garage is,
We've
and I
only seen
think
the
it's way
high-level
too dark
categories, yeah.
and not safe. So was anything budgeted? I'm very
Which is-
grateful that you go out there with a leaf blower, but you shouldn't have to, and that's not enough. So, is there funding to clean it, to put up lights, for example?
We
And
don't
that's-
know, cause that level of detail wasn't shared even though I asked for it.
Right, so,
Our cleaning company used to do the basic cleaning, and then if you wanted the sidewalk cleaned out here, down there, wherever, if you wanted to have your garage cleaned, it was about $795 to clean the garage downstairs. And they did it about 4 times a year.
power
Now-
washing?
Yeah, they did, they'd blow it out, sweep it out first of all. If that would hold it over, fine. But you'll notice that out of the parking lot in the back that we own but have no control over, all that stuff comes running down off the cars, and then it comes in
Does.
there and gets on the ramp, and I've cleaned it lots and lots of times.
Right, So I'm just using that as an example. I would like to see us spend some money to clean it up.
Well,
And
The
if we're
question is
going to,
it in
it
the
should be in the
budget?
budget.
And it should be
Budget,
listed
yeah.
specifically,
Yes,
what it's for, what
and
the money's
you've
for.
raised security concerns.
and it should be in the budget.
And that's what I'd like to know, so I agree with you, it should be in the budget.
You know, sidewalks, all these things that are outside maintenance, they're not constant maintenance usually, but they have to be done regularly
Yes.
or you got a heck of a mess.
Yes,
Then you got a problem with scheduling, blowing it out with the cars and getting dust in somebody's car.
and moving the cars if you're going to wash it, and I think from commercial perspective, it will be a nicer looking building if we're better able to do some of these big, deep things regularly.
I agree. And if we get our budget straightened out and quit spending money foolishly, we'll have more money to do all these things with. But, some of the stuff we've spent money on is just a pure waste. And,
And another good reason to see the detail before we vote.
Right.
fine with me.
Just checking to see what was, sent out, but, did you guys didn't, get a copy of
Summary,
summary?
We just got a summary,
summary, that's it.
no details.
Was
Yeah,
that
just
what
that
it-
high line, like maintenance.
Yeah.
Those,
That
each of those categories is required in the condominium act.
And maintenance
Yeah.
means nothing, what does that mean?
So the budget structure and the budget categorization is already set up for you, but we don't have the detail.
Maybe if a person went back and identified whatever it is, and
Yeah,
then,
trying to pull the one for, last year to see if it had the, breakdowns in it.
That's when T-Square had the more detail, I think.
was it last year?
Is there a detail?
T-Square didn't have anything to do with the budget last year.
Oh, okay.
Is
Me
that
and
something
Bob
that
did.
is up
Do you remember detail from last year?
I don't remember the numbers, I didn't bring the 2024 budget with me. Yeah, it's got a lot more detail. These are the categories.
No, it was for, that's 2024.
Should have been 191, 621. Yeah, there it is, 191, 621. But this still doesn't have, we actually had, what T-Square would do is map this back to their accounts for QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we were able to roll it up last year.
Okay. Yeah, so what, based on what I see you guys were provided 14 days ago versus, what this has in it, this is quite a bit more detailed. So,
Joe, could we buy some printer paper from you?
Sure thing, why don't you email me? I'll print it out. You know how many copies you need, just a few?
It's for,
Maybe 3 or 4, so you can pass around the table.
well, I think people probably would want their own copy, so.
Oh,
How
yeah,
much do you
it might just take a little while.
How much do you charge?
We'll negotiate. Let me print off a few, see how quickly I can get them all. I'm happy to get a few started.
Cause what I distributed was a summary, not the detail, because the detail is a little bit of a high
big's the
chart.
document? It's just a couple pages?
It's just one page.
Oh,
It's
that's easy. I
one
was thinking it was a whole.
Single page, yeah.
Never mind. We can take care of that.
Alright, so let me just,
You have my email, I'll go back there.
oh, I got your email.
Yeah, I'll see. Fire back.
Let me ask you guys a question, while we're waiting on this. Would you guys prefer to, once you get a copy of the breakdown, have an opportunity to review that and then come back to another ratification? Or would you guys like to look at it tonight and vote on it?
I don't see how we're close to ratifying a budget if we don't have all the components. I'm not talking about the detail, I'm talking about the full budget as required in that section in the CC and ours.
Okay,
And I know you said that, well, it's gotta be a joint, but I don't agree with that interpretation. I don't know where that interpretation is. I think we need, even if it's just a good faith gesture, because I haven't seen anything at all.
okay.
And here we are to vote on a budget for which we don't even have the detail that's required. To me, seems like a silly exercise.
So I think the answer is yes, wait. Have a little bit more time.
We have up to 50 days. The way the uniform condominium act reads is like 14 to 50 days.
Well, I mean,
What do you think?
I'm a little bit against you on that, because my thought was, we have a budget, it's actually pretty darn close to what last year's was. And if we vote down this year, the proposed budget, which again, it's not perfect, okay? We can come back and ratify or modify, have an agreement that within X days, we'll get a new number, and then we can redo it. Or we can just keep going at what we had at the end of last year until we feel like we have the right number. I mean, it's not gonna change a whole lot on the monthly
They're by and
dues, to
large
be
the same.
honest.
Yeah.
I am
So-
optimistic that we are all trying really hard to do things better. And I think to accept a budget, again, that doesn't fulfill the requirement says, we're okay with not doing better.
Well, and that's,
But I think
and
we
that's
all
why,
want to
that's
do
why
better.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
kinda feels like we might be kicking the can down the road, or, you know, or, backsliding. So, but, you know, ultimately, you know, this is your guys's, you know, thing and theirs, but,
Well, one thing I'm frustrated with is that we don't have a property manager,
mhm.
and so I don't know how much is in the budget for that, but I think having a property manager would be helpful, because they generally have a template and say, okay, you know, treasurer, put in the numbers, and then you're like, if they wanna push it out and fill in all those columns.
I'm gonna run in and show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can print a few more for you.
Cindy and I have, hand out spectacles too, please.
Little tiny.
You got one, you got one?
Like I said, it was kind of an eye chart.
Oh my god.
I'll send
Do you want another one?
What's that? Yeah, my office is down here now.
Do you want your
I'm right there in
library?
that door right there. Yeah. Moved there about 8 months ago. Yeah. Pretty recent.
So I mean, is,
What's that, sorry?
what do we wanna discuss this? Do we wanna vote on it, or if we're not gonna vote on it, should we spend a few minutes talking about, okay, what do we really need some help with understanding? So we can make sure, if we're gonna redo the budget, it's done according to what everybody wants.
Well, what,
Right.
you know, what our, you know, CCNRs may require, and, you know, we've already just kind of had a little bit of a discussion about, you know, the common element situation, and I think that might also go a long ways to helping resolve, I guess, some of the imbalance feelings between who's spending what on what.
If we vote on it, how do we vote on it? Do we vote on a Class A and a Class B and a Class C, or we vote on something what's the provision for the vote?
Actually,
How would that work?
I can help you with that. I've read it. if,
Yeah, I've read it too, but that's my question. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, my question is.
I'm inferring that I can answer it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a rhetorical question you're asking me, so, look, I'm trying to be helpful, so, if you'd like to know what I know, I'm happy to share it. So, the way it's supposed to work is there's supposed to be 3 budgets. The first one is the shared budget, which is supposed to cover all the common elements, which is, for the most part, the vast majority of the entire building.
Which is out of like 190, whatever this one was this year, 198,000 is about $12,000.
So there's that, and then there's the business, which gets their own budget, which is just for their own elements that are exclusive to them, right? And same with the owners. If there's any elements there that are exclusive to the owners, those are covered there. And you have a budget, you show it. It's supposed to be produced for everybody for them to review, and the board passes the budget initially. So the board has to vote on the budget and pass the budget with the input.
But the way the CCNRs read is you're supposed to vote on A, you're supposed to vote on B, and you're supposed to vote on C.
For
So
the-
Class A is not commercial, it's residential. Class B is commercial, and Class C is combined. And you're supposed to have independent votes on each of those. That's the clause right after the clause that you just described.
Correct, but just to be clear, the only people who can vote on,
Exactly.
right, residential are residential people,
Correct.
and the people who vote on commercial are commercial. So we're saying the same thing, it sounds like.
Mhm.
And so, the main vote that is the purpose of everyone here collectively together is that combined budget, which is supposed to make up probably practically most of all the money.
What's not clear is if A passes and B passes and C doesn't pass. That's what's not clear.
I think that both can be true. I think you can pass one and not pass the other because they're mutually exclusive to each other. They don't overlap, right?
Correct. So
So-
C would be the combined budget,
Right, and I think that is, yes.
which is what this is, the combined budget.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
It is.
And then the process then, once it passes the board,
The
right?
reason this is a combined budget, because we don't have anything from commercial.
I agree. I mean, I think we're saying the same thing. We're just putting emphasis on it in different ways. I mean, the way I look at it is commercial doesn't require a vote because commercial's one entity. So the practicality of the vote is moot because one person controls it. I mean, it's a czar, right? It's one person. Whereas the people who live here, you're all divided and fractured, and you come together and vote together. So the whole point of the vote has a purpose with people who
But I
live here
think for the
versus
good of the
commercial.
association and the community, that the part A needs to be seen by everybody who's a member of the association.
Well,
So
the-
it's
this-
not moot. It's important, it's
I
relevant,
don't
otherwise
see-
it wouldn't be in there.
well,
Well,
I mean,
especially
we can
in,
agree to disagree.
in the event that, let's say, because, let's say if commercial decided to sell off a couple of these units. Now you have fractional ownership in the building, and that is when, you know, if Dave owned 6 units and somebody else owned 3 units or something of that sort, you know, that is where I think that would come into play. But when the entirety is owned by one individual, one group, one entity.
But that's all in one building, and this association is for the building. And that's a component of the building. And the budget is voted for the building, the association, right? And so that is a piece of it, so it doesn't matter if it's one entity, it still has to be part of the budget.
And it sounds to me like you are working to get those numbers.
I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you can get those numbers
It's not that big a deal, you could submit the water meter bill.
in a short time
Yeah, just-
period and make some adjustments, we can pass it.
You could
At the
submit,
time that everything's put together, should that be what all the elements want to vote.
But if I may, like, y'all don't have a vote on commercial, so you don't, if you don't like it at all, you don't have any votes on it. You know, and I don't mean to make ruffle feathers, cause I know y'all are trying to work together, so maybe that's the bigger picture here, is that maybe y'all will be willing to share it, and that's great.
It's the overall health of the building, and we need to know that the overall health of the building is being maintained, whether it's the A, the B, or the C collective element.
I mean, I think if commercial wants to do that, and you guys are in agreement, then there's just,
I think what we're saying is just sort
Yeah,
of, there's some
maybe this-
visibility, it's like, hey, you're spending this much on cleaning, you're spending this much on water, it's just the visibility that, you can see what we're spending on, what we're allocating to cleaning and maintenance. I mean, it's just more of a visibility, like we're trying to improve the process, but
well,
I understand the
totally
part
agree with you
about,
there. I mean, yeah.
voting on it, that's a different thing, yeah, you only need one vote to pass it.
That's kind of my point, is like, as far as like getting the voting process going, if y'all could, I don't wanna get in the way of this, I feel like I'm kinda stepping a little too far already, but, I was just trying to provide guidance on, the process is the board passes the budget. Once the board passes the budget, then it's sent to everybody, and then everybody comes here to ratify the budget. So you can only vote the budget down really at that point.
You
That's-
don't vote for the budget, you vote, if you do nothing, it's passed. You vote to
That's-
reject the budget.
That's what I mean, it's a ratification vote, so you can only vote it down.
Yeah, it's not a ratification vote, if you do nothing, it's ratified.
Potato, potato, I mean, it's the same thing.
But perhaps we can just go with the visibility piece of this,
I think it's great.
and then just, we know the voting situation, but,
Thank you.
Okay. And like I said, this isn't, we're not trying to run a, dictatorship or anything like that. That's why I think it's important to come together and talk about these things and, get it out there. So with that, at this point in time, we don't have a full and complete budget in which, we could,
We could vote and reject,
we
and
could,
then we could just implement, last year's budget. and then
You just
make a
table it.
recommendation.
well, if we were to table it as opposed to rejecting it, and then if we get this back up within our timeframes, then we could vote it, so. I make a motion to, then table the ratification vote.
I don't wanna capture this, so hold on just a
Okay.
second. Let's talk about that. Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion to table the ratification vote on the 2025 budget. Do I have a second? Dave?
So does the clock start over, because the board would have to adopt?
Yeah, I mean, that's.
So the clock's gotta start over.
On, for the 14 days, or?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
no,
the-
you
the-
need to put together a new.
You need to put together a new
and
budget, the board
present
would have
it.
to adopt that, and then the board would have to
The
get
board
it
needs to present it.
to, between,
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah,
so that puts us into March.
it does. Yeah. Me?
I think at the end, we voting yes or no. At the end, when what money we spend, leftover will go back to our account anyway. So if we wait, if the budget too much and we spend less, that will be left over. So actually, it doesn't make a lot difference.
Yeah, so, correct, it goes, into the,
And then just carry over to next year. We have more money in the reserve, that's all.
yeah, I think
I mean,
I get what you're saying.
yeah.
Okay, so I have a second,
That, you moved, who seconded it?
Dave?
Oh, Dave seconded.
Yeah. So all in favor of tabling the ratification meeting? Okay. Sorry, and Mr. Braille?
Well, my wife voted, so.
Oh,
I-
no.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, that's how it
Oh,
works.
all right, I apologize. I apologize. No, okay, no, that
You
was.
got this on tape for Cindy.
No, that was my bad. Okay, I gotta remember spouses, I apologize.
When the
That's-
board meets to approve a more complete version of the budget, I would like you to analyze whether we can put some money at the garage lighting and cleaning. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen, that means I'd like you guys to address it and see if we can have some funding for that. There's $1,000 in there now, that's, I believe, what was in there last year as well, and
Did it get used?
I don't know if it got used, but it didn't get power washed, and, we got some new light bulbs, but that's, I
Yeah,
think
the
that's about
it
it.
shows actuals for pressure washing is 0, but we budgeted 994.
Well, and I'm not sure, gosh,
But again, some of this stuff like could have been shoved into, some other category on the actuals.
well, and there's actually, and I'm sorry, I don't have it right here handy, but there is a budget for reserves, and there was like $24,000 put into that
Mhm.
for 2 projects, one being the resurfacing of the sidewalk,
Mhm.
and the other dealing with the drainage, like
Mhm.
on your unit,
Mhm.
and the whole downspouts, and repairing the roof
Mhm.
outside the second floor units. So there was 12,000 in each bucket.
Mhm.
That's a guess
Mhm.
of what it would cost to do those 2 projects.
Mhm.
It could be twice as much or half as much, I'm not sure. I'm probably the
understand.
least qualified of
Yeah.
any of the people here to
That
come up
is
with those numbers.
a great example of item detail, so thank you for pulling this up for us to see, and I know costs vary.
Okay.
May we go back to the motion just to say, did we close the loop? Did the motion carry?
Yes.
Motion carried 100%.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so next on our list would be then to, vote for, members of the board.
Do you wanna cover the regular, if you will, month-end, year-end kind of reports before we move forward?
You're in reports.
Well, like finances, where we are and stuff like that? I mean, that would be one of the normal reports of the board members for their respective areas of responsibility.
Well, do we have those numbers? Because I think, isn't T-Square still producing some of that stuff for us?
Not really,
Oh,
but I've done my best to try and cobble them together with,
We're gonna have a better picture of that very shortly. We only got the checks, last week? And they get deposited in the bank, all those figures, need to be outlined and where it is.
it's all right there, except the checks that I never saw.
Well, then it's not all there.
Well, how could I put them there if I never saw them? Right?
I'm sorry,
I'm not asking you to put them there. We've got somebody working on it.
Well, that's great, you got somebody to work on it, but, let me just, I think I sent something out, Dave, and I know there's been a little confusion about this, but, one of the really clear things in the CCNRs is that the treasurer, shall be responsible to have custody. And custody means physical handling of funds and securities of the association. And it also says in the CCNRs that all unit owners shall pay the treasurer. Okay?
We
And
haven't
if-
had one for years.
Well, I'm glad you think that, but we do have documentation that I am functioning in that. Would you like to see that documentation?
I've seen a lot of it where you self-proclaim that you're treasurer.
No, not me.
Yeah, you.
Cindy Frosto.
All right, well, let's,
I don't wanna argue with you, Bob.
Well, good, then
I've had a
don't.
tough week. I've got acute heart failure, and I'm here, and I don't wanna argue with you.
No, you shouldn't.
This has been going on for 4 years, I'm tired of it.
That's fine.
okay, let's move on. Okay,
Well,
so
wait,
I don't.
you know, I have to say,
Okay,
and there can't be anything more clear, okay, in our CCNRs and our bylaws.
Yep.
Okay, and you were on emails, Dave, I think you were on the emails as well, okay, and I've been functioning as the treasurer, whether I'm self-proclaimed or not. Tom's been functioning as the president, whether he's self-proclaimed or not. I think after 11 months or 4 years or whatever. I mean, Dave, I've asked to do an audit, please do an audit on me. Please find something that I've done wrong,
You know?
okay? Please.
okay.
No,
I know, I just,
okay.
And we haven't done anything wrong either. But we're gonna keep control of the money because of the way it's been spent.
What does that
What-
mean, please?
yeah, what does that
What
mean?
is-
What
Control of the
you
money,
just
this
said.
is the association's money.
I
Anytime
wanna
we're
hear this.
missing $8,000.
Who's we? You said we're
The
gonna keep.
association
Yeah.
has come up missing.
So you have money in an account.
Pardon?
You have money in an account, right? Are you segregating reserves from operational, or is it all in one
No.
account?
We paid bills. They were approved by Kathy and Bob for $8,000. And we went to them and asked, what is this $8,000 miscellaneous expense? And we couldn't get an answer back. We went to T-Square and asked her. Finally, in a board meeting, I brought it up and said, where did this money go? Miscellaneous expense, $8,000 in 1 month? I need an explanation.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by we control it now. What does that mean?
I don't, are we playing with semantics, or are we just gonna talk about
I'm
facts?
taking you
No,
for
no,
your
this
word.
is really important.
Yeah, it's
very
extremely important. You cannot control the association's money in one account. That's not for you to say.
I didn't say anything about that. I said, we're missing.
That's exactly
No,
what
as
that's
an
exactly
HO
what you said,
That's
Dave.
exactly what you said.
okay, hey guys,
Okay,
real
let me
quick.
retract that and say,
Well,
we
no, all
found out that
heard it.
we're missing
I just wanna know what that means.
$8,000 and we couldn't get you to say
I
what
think you
we
missed
told.
it.
Just for everybody's, Bill voted last time that there'd be 3 signers on the bank account. So I think that issue's settled, right?
What is not settled is segregating the reserves. We don't have the reserve. You said it's in one account. We need to keep reserves
Okay.
out of operation.
Exactly, but
It's all
here's,
being accounted for.
So,
and,
and can we see it?
How do we know that?
Yeah, how do we
Well,
know that?
well, didn't
You
you
know,
guys
we
get
just
the,
got the money
You just
3
said we
4 days
control it.
ago.
Who's we?
That's
Define
not
we.
true.
Yeah, you
Define we,
said, we're
please.
going to control the money, that's the question.
Yeah.
What
The
does the
bank
sentence
controls
mean?
the money.
No, that's
No.
not what our CCNRs say.
okay, so,
They've got it in their possession and it's safe. It's not on your desk.
I would like to clarify an important point, that the bank needs to be involved in resolving. An account has been set, the 3 signatures are there, thank you for that progress. What needs to happen, I thought they were.
okay,
Well,
so,
let me circle back to that. So I would like clarification, but first, there needs to be a bank account for operational expenses, and there needs to be a separate bank account for reserve. So the two aren't mixed, the two aren't spent there's no irresponsible spending any chance.
You
And
cannot commingle those two.
And we
accounts.
need
And I
to, and we
agree.
need to see that.
And we've got
We need to
accounts.
Then why are we doing that now, if you agree with that?
okay, guys, hang on.
Well, you
All right,
gotta,
Dad. All right, everybody everybody take a deep breath here. Okay, currently, they are all in one account. Up until today, we didn't have all 3 signers on the board, on that account. The idea is, and I think Bob brought up a fantastic point, and that is to take those reserves and put them into an interest-bearing account. Currently,
You have to protect principal.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, and we're not protecting principal now.
Some of those
I mean, against
accounts that
inflation,
I
we need to
saw,
have an interest-bearing account.
some of those accounts that came over from T-Square, we asked for an explanation of how they got there, what they're for. We've got insurance money that came in for repairs that have never been accounted for. T-Square wouldn't account for it. I said, we need an accounting of what the insurance company paid in. None of the repairs have been done. It's been a year, and we need a breakdown for each one of those. And that's what's being worked on now.
So why didn't you share this sooner?
Pardon me?
Why not share this with the association sooner? What your plan is?
Well, I've gotta see it come to a little bit of fruition and put it on a piece of paper first.
I think an audit's a great idea. It sounds like everyone would be supportive of that. And we've talked about that before.
And that's fine with me, but, but I want control over what we had at T-Square and their explanation of where they've put these different bunches of money. Because all the insurance money, it sounded like, went right into the general account.
It did.
Not a good idea. You gotta keep this stuff separate.
There is some separation in their
Well,
accounting.
I saw some stuff that was just $12,000 and it goes into reserve account. But it needs to be
I agree.
properly accounted for.
I agree.
And it's being done.
I'm thinking, my thought was this account's sort of a stopgap. I know we need multiple accounts, but this is like a temporary holding spot until we have a property manager.
So that we can pay the bills, but regardless of whether we have a property manager or not, I think it's up to us if we decide that, if we wanna make, some interest on the monies, protect it. Now, I don't know a lot about that. Bob brought up, that, hey, we could open up this Charles Schwab account that pays like this and whatever, and I thought that was a great idea, but you gotta understand, it's not my money, it's your guys' money, it's the building's money. And the first big rock was establish the account so we could keep, the lights on, paying the bills, and then determine whether or not it's going to go into a separate reserve account or if it's going to go into some kind of an investment account so that we get a higher yield.
Is there a timeline for making that decision and establishing that account?
I think that would be fantastic for, as soon as we figure out who we have that's, in leadership after the board vote.
So,
Yeah,
February 15th, February 22nd,
Well, so I mean,
just a goal?
well, like I said, I think that would be something, we could, I guess we could say that. I was just thinking, who's running for the board, tonight, and then going forward, that'd be, something for, if it's the same individuals, if it's different individuals, for them to, because that's gonna be a task that is largely going to have to be, shouldered by, those people, so, yeah, I'd like to see it happen ASAP, but it's,
ideally, you'd want reserves to have 3 signatories and then operational to have 2 signatories.
Could you speak up just a little? I can't hear you now.
I said ideally, this is detail, we don't really need to get into detail. Ideally, in a reserve account, you would want 3 signatures and 2 signatures on an operational account.
which.
Make it
sounds
more
good.
difficult to touch reserves.
Yeah, I think, shoot, more the merrier.
And you can set limits with the bank too. It's
Yeah.
like under 5,000 to, even if it's operational, it's over a certain amount, you could put 3, but yeah, that's just operational stuff.
Yeah.
Did you do that at Washington Mutual?
No, but that's standard practice for, people that have access to, accounts that aren't theirs. The shared funds.
Well said.
Okay. So, like I said, I think at this point, the voting is, basically for commercial, for a board position, because commercial has its own, position on the board. We have one for residential, and then we have the third, board member. So, I think we just go with, starting off with commercial, and, yep.
Are we gonna talk about
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
the numbers?
What about our motion for more board members?
Well, and are we gonna talk about the numbers, where we are? I mean,
Well,
I've
I
got
don't-
numbers here.
Oh, but I thought you just said that they weren't all there. You said you did your best, but there's
Well,
something
right,
missing.
they aren't finalized, right? On some of this I put unofficial, but
Oh.
at least to give you an idea of where we are.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, I just didn't realize that.
We should have a full report, everything that went into the bank, a breakdown of what came from, T-Square, because they're checking with T-Square, what are these categories, how did you come up with these numbers, to get it funneled in the right spot,
Who's
and
they?
that's all
Who's-
coming.
Who's they?
But-
I think that's here.
We've got a,
Well, maybe you
we-
do,
we've got
I've
a,
never seen it.
we've got a forensic audit going.
For 110 James?
for the books. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said before, a lot of the stuff that is being brought up and is being argued over, and it has a lot to do with, not only, what monies were spent, how they were spent, and if we can't get into, because like I said, we've got, the grievances, for mediation, but there is one of the big rubs in between, let's just say in the association is, who owes who what. And a lot of those had to do with, dues not being paid. It's like, well, you guys owe me this, so I shouldn't have to pay my dues. And then like, no, that's not the way it works, all that stuff, right? So the idea is that, commercial is paying for for basically this audit, which is part of the breakdown of the commercial budget as well. So it's going to cover, that the common elements. I didn't even realize that there is any limited common elements, or if there is. But in doing that, we would have a better idea, better understanding, and also be able to, if we did end up going to mediation, have those numbers readily available. But the goal is to try save ourselves the cost and expense of mediation, and certainly that of litigation and attorneys.
So to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, a forensic audit is currently underway
Mm-hmm.
for all of the books for 110 James? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, that's news, that's great news,
Well, that's been since the emergency board meeting.
great.
Now, just out of curiosity, who's paying for that?
We are,
Yeah, you had said commercial
We
was.
mean commercial?
Russ family.
Now, is that,
You can pay for half of it,
No.
no problem.
I don't
Here's-
have a problem with that, Dave.
You never have a problem.
No.
Okay, so that's great, okay, so that's great, and then that will also address what was discussed at the last meeting, which was rather than mediate the who owes what, who over legal stuff, this will help resolve that
Well, it
issue
will draw hopefully quantify exactly what it is.
of all the he said, she said, that was, great,
Yes.
Yes.
And
thank you for sharing that.
I think this
Yeah.
person that's doing all this, in conjunction with the bank and tracking all this stuff down, will give each person a report. The bank said they will provide each and every owner in here with their own bank statement. You can pay directly to the bank without going to the bank, doing anything. You can just set it up through this,
Z-Rent or something.
Z-Rent thing, and this accountant person understands that very well. And to have all this online so you can look at it anytime you want to, and make payments anytime you want to, and track it anytime you want to, then things become transparent.
Sure, were you aware that this was going on, Bob? I just think as a board member of the association, that should have
Very
been
strange.
shared.
Yeah.
It should have been voted on by the board, yeah.
Yeah.
In
A little
total, all board members.
Just
Well,
like,
see,
just,
wait and
just
look
like
how it comes
establishing,
out.
The account,
just like establishing an account,
all board members should have voted on that, yeah.
yeah.
Wait and look how it comes out. If you don't like it, you can change it.
Well, that's not the idea.
Yeah,
Well, it is.
exactly. No, it's not,
Right.
Dave.
So
That's
here's-
not how you do things.
You guys-
Right.
What we agreed to was
Who
getting
we?
the board at our last emergency meeting. What we agreed to was working towards solving these problems.
Well,
Big
then that
rocks.
means
When was
everybody
this account
works
opened?
together.
It works together,
Mhm.
however, as opposed to having, additional and more expenses that weren't,
And what was the date of that meeting and when was the account opened?
no, not the account, we're talking about the audit.
Yeah, but when was the bank account with our dues, our assessments, our monthly assessments, when was that opened?
I don't know.
You
It's
don't have a
really
date? Was it
important.
last year? It shouldn't have been open until afterwards.
Correct.
So if it was open before we agreed at the last emergency meeting, why is that the case?
Because the bank account needed to get opened, and then we had the emergency meeting to basically backstep to make sure that everybody was included on that bank account.
And there should be a board meeting to do that with all board members present to agree to that motion, right?
Which was on the 10th, last Friday.
Yeah, I thought it was because they couldn't all agree on which bank to put it at, cause you had opened it, and then we finally said, yeah, it's fine, let's use that account. I thought that was agreed on at the emergency meeting.
It
The
was,
question is, when was the account opened?
Well, they had already said they opened it before, and then you didn't like it,
Like how far before?
I don't
Well, Bob, you were there at the,
Oh,
you were there at the bank when we were opening up the account.
Okay.
All three of us were there.
When
So
was the
whatever-
account opened?
The day that we were there, all three
On
of
the
us.
31st?
I don't know what the date was. I'd have to
Well, I
look
think
up.
I think I remember, and I think I have text messages that I was late because I was watching a football game.
Okay. I don't remember the date, but I
So-
know that
So
we all
it's the
three.
31st?
I think it was.
It was?
I don't know.
You don't?
You were there. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I just got this report.
You
that-
were invited to come sign, and then you got pissed
All right.
off and
All right.
walked out.
So
I
I
don't-
just got this report from you, Tom,
Uh-huh.
that shows that the date range, and the range is from the day it was opened,
Okay.
was the 18th of December. You said it was the 31st.
What
And
day
then-
what day did you go up there?
The 31st.
Okay, well, that's when it opened.
No, Dave.
You know,
Look
Bob.
here, and you know who told me this? Connie, today. At Smoky Point, she's really nice.
She is nice. In fact, she told me how you went to the Evergreen Bank, wandered upstairs where you're not allowed, and you had to be asked to leave.
That's not true, because I didn't go upstairs.
Well,
Okay.
Patty
All
McDonald
right.
said you did.
This is becoming,
Okay, so, I want it known, okay, that both of you just said that this account was open on the 31st of December. And I have a document here that says this account was opened on the 18th or before of December. So there's a discrepancy here, and I was trying to get an account opened. First text message I sent to both of you on November 22nd that said, here's a form, let's go to Sound Credit Union, we'll get it open, and we'll get an account. And then I got the rope-a-dope from both of you, not you, Dave, sorry, not from you, but from you, Tom,
okay,
saying, no, I talked to my brother, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, I'm not against having an interest-bearing account, I just need to talk to the commercial account. I came back to you and said, Tom, what's the deal? Do your job as the president, let's get an account opened.
okay.
I couldn't pay
So-
checks, we haven't paid checks other than the one check that you paid, because I told you it needed to be paid or we were gonna cancel our insurance. Other than the 3 checks that I wrote out of my personal account to pay for the janitorial work and to pay for the cleaning of the roof. So, I don't appreciate untruth, okay? And you tell me one thing,
I'll
and I
tell you
got
how
proof
you-
of something
Let
else.
me tell you how you figure this out. You go up here to Leslie, they had problems with signature cards, and the signature cards had to be redone. I think they've been redone twice,
Probably a third time
because-
now.
because the articles with the state were recorded wrong, and the bank came back and said, okay, we're gonna have to redo the signature cards, because we're gonna have to change the document. And you can track this all down. It's got nothing to do with Dave and Tom. It's got to do with what the bank found out and how the owners association.
Dave, stop. Please stop. Please stop.
You don't wanna listen, Bob, that's your problem.
Dave, when I produced the handwritten meeting notes that you guys tried to push this account through, that said that I was involved in a board meeting, which I wasn't present, and they said, no, handwritten notes aren't gonna work,
Who's they?
Connie, today.
Okay, well, let's all go up and talk to Connie right in person. We'll get everybody there.
Sure.
And we'll get all these facts.
And we'll get a
out,
copy
you know.
of the handwritten meeting notes that you guys presumably said, oh yeah, this is a board-approved deal we're doing. And it wasn't.
It is board approved. Takes 2 people to approve something on a board. You were included, and you decided to walk off in a tizzy. You're not gonna win this.
I don't think so.
It shouldn't be about winning or losing. We need to work together. And, you know, I tell you what, I would like, you guys, I mean, watching this stuff, I mean, we've got these goofy little arguments going on. You know, yes, we want to do things right. We want to do things better. You know, last time I checked, about the only person that has any level of expertise in any of this stuff is sitting at the end of the room, and, you know, and people, you know, 9 times out of 10 want them to leave. The idea, once again, is trying to solve problems, not create more problems, not make things more difficult. You guys, we're just fighting constantly. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it any better. Does this not feel like a power struggle?
Well,
God.
it makes you very sad that you go ahead and work on your own when the rest of the people didn't know what was going on with this
So-
audit? It's,
Well,
There's
that
an
it
appearance of
creates
mendacity,
distrust.
well,
just an appearance of
here's-
mendacity is the way I would phrase it.
Okay,
What's
so
that word mean?
Untruth.
the idea is, once again, trying to find solutions. And we keep wrestling with finger pointing problems. You know, this person, this person, this person, this person. And, you know, it basically came down to, we, when I talked to my dad, we thought, hey, here's the scenario. We've got arguments over who owes who what. If you feel so strongly, get a bookkeeper, have an audit done. You know, and, you know, like he's mentioned before, there are oftentimes things that are done around the building that nobody knows. You know, I won't say nobody cares or appreciates, but you know, you guys don't see a bill. You don't see a bill for the common area cleaning. You haven't seen a bill for light bulbs. You haven't seen a bill for, you know, any work that I've ever done here on the property, security, cleaning the things. That's in an effort to try to be solution oriented. Okay? Big rocks, we needed an account. Now, Bob, I will tell you right now that the day that should reflect on that, as far as when that account was open, was the day that all three of us were supposed to be there. I saw that, didn't think anything of it. I have no idea why it has whatever date that you're saying that is on there. But the date that we went up there was the date that that account was supposed to be open. It didn't have any money in it until we were up there. You saw the checks on the desk that funded that account.
I was never given the checks. You told me you would give me the
Bob.
checks. You told me,
I
and
know.
I've got it right here. You
Problem
told me.
solved, big rocks, yes.
No.
The idea is,
No.
the idea is that the money needed to go in the bank.
Custody
Here's
is the
what's-
word. Do you understand
Did
what
you
that
have
word
custody
means?
when T Squared was handling the money? No,
No,
it went to them.
because we designated that.
Okay.
And they fired us.
Big trust issues, and so
With
here's.
whom?
Well, all over the place.
Do you have problems with trust with me? Do you have problems with trust with me? Do you
Well,
have
I sure
problems with
do.
trust with me?
You know, there are people, and we
That's
don't need to point out names,
Okay.
but here's the scenario. All right,
You're not the
enough.
solution.
Does it make sense to have the summary that you have so far, or should we wait on when there's a more complete picture? Because I think
Well,
that's where we were
I think-
before the segue.
I think it's not all bad, other than the fact that we had over $100,000 sitting undepositable because we didn't have an account. Okay?
Just read
So
it.
here's the deal. At the end of the year, we had $10,800.56 in the checking account at T Squared. We had $102,749.47 in undeposited funds. And as of 1/1/25, which included then the January dues, we had an accounts receivable of $55,145.87. So in December, the report was, we had that $10,856 in T Squared Bank. We received $7,597.69 in dues. We had $14,487.83 in a checking
Have you got
account.
copies of these so we could look at them?
Yeah, I'm
too?
sorry, I told you I don't have a printer, so, but I'll provide these for you. Okay.
It's kinda hard to,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
go over it.
I'm sorry, you know, when Design West moved out, I lost my printer. So that 14,487 was a kind of, somehow they were putting money into, T Squared was putting it into, like a reserve account for insurance, and they said just, that's really part of the checking account. In our reserve account, the money that we got, the check from them was $70,024.28. And so if you add all of those things up, our total assets, as of January 1st would have been $150,458.54. We did not make a reserve contribution in December. We did have, accounts payable at that time of $14,974.44. Some of that has been paid, primarily the farmer's insurance. So we now have a little bit more than $10,000 in payables. And here is a report of the funds that were received and recorded, but not deposited in December.
Cindy, when you put together the minutes, would you paste those on so that's a part of what gets sent to everybody?
Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, we've got financials. Now, next order of business. Okay. Would be the board vote. I think the simplest way to do this is starting with commercial, seeing that there's only one person that really qualifies. So.
Can I?
Yep.
I can't emphasize enough, and I think this has been brought up, the reason that there's a desire to have more people on the board. And by the way, the board can appoint people to do certain tasks, but if you're gonna be on the board, you have to participate all the time, not periodically. And that means not just showing up for a meeting, but you have to be involved in things during the week, during the month. And if you aren't gonna be able to do that, then don't be on the board. Have somebody that can do it, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
I think of, the hundreds of messages that he gets and takes care of. And, I don't know what you're talking about, but he's available all the time, and that's what I appreciate about him.
I think Tom has been a breath of fresh air.
Thank you. I agree, Bob. Yeah, I think that, you know, many hands make for a light load, but in the same breath, I also say, you know, too many chefs in the kitchen spoil the stew. I think that, was that?
Well, I think just what Bob is trying to say, it's funny, is like, if we're gonna have a proxy or whatever, do we need to have a permanent proxy on the board?
I can't do
If
proxies on the
Dave
board.
can't be here
Do you mean power of attorney?
every meeting,
So,
does he need a Joe?
Do you mean power of him giving
And
power of
voted
attorney?
in like as the commercial representatives, that's
well,
what
and
what
that
I'm
was,
interpreting your
yeah,
comments.
and that's part of the, you know, I mean, because as far as, you know, being an owner, you know, but when we have based on our CCNRs, when we have, you know, an owner that owns 100% of the commercial, and if he can't be here, then, and if a proxy isn't, you know, acceptable, which I'm still researching, I have no idea, could be, could not be.
This is one I bet you know the answer to. Could Dave give power of attorney in matters of 110 James to Tom such that Tom could then be the board member for commercial? Different than a proxy.
Yes, as long as it's not forbidden by your CCNRs. So if there's not a specific, and I haven't seen a rule that forbids that.
I haven't either.
So, yeah, because when you give power of attorney, you can do it with specific powers, especially on commercial circumstances or over property, so.
Now, that's for, representing the ownership, but how about the board?
That's what, well, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, and if your dad wanted to, he could give you, this is why I was asking for Joe's input, power of attorney to you to act as the commercial owner. So you could then fill the commercial spot on the board.
Gotcha,
We just don't wanna end up in a deadlock because there's only 2 board members.
for sure.
Well,
If
And
we can't.
And we can't
we
have
have
a
to-
proxy.
it wouldn't, you know, and it wouldn't be me who would, be,
Okay.
you know, receiving that power of attorney, that's not my capacity in
But
our
I,
family.
but that, for matters of the board of 110 James, it can be defined pretty narrowly as I understand it. I believe that is a legal option.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fantastic, especially in the event that, you know, if he's in Eastern Washington or if he's not feeling well.
Oh, I didn't mean temporarily, I meant for the year as the owner representative to commercial.
So, I put a call into my, younger brother, who said that he'd be willing to entertain that.
Do we like your younger brother?
He's the favorite child. I do-
Of whom?
Not that you don't love spending all this time with us.
No, I don't know, it's, yeah, I mean, but we have to, you know,
I just
my dad,
brainstorming.
yeah, my dad has been diagnosed with acute heart failure. And, you know, we need to be planning ahead.
I need to go home,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
so,
And I drove him here, so, if we can get through the vote, and, I came down with great ambitions. I got a response back from the property manager. I did finally get a bid for the roof repair over here, and it's, a little over $1,900, wasn't $1,500. So, but, yeah, I know. So maybe one of those things, I don't know if we wanna, you know, get extra bids on it, or just go ahead and do it.
I wouldn't, I mean,
And it's,
like Dave said, you don't wanna let that.
no, it's,
If you get a nice day like today,
that's what they're
whatever,
waiting for.
boom,
yeah, so,
just hit it, it's not worth
So-
a couple $100.
That's emergency repair, do we even have to vote on it?
No,
no, but I just wanna, once again,
thank you.
transparency.
Transparency.
And then I've
I
got
didn't know we had it.
the grievances, of which, number one, you sent this, right, Cindy? You went around, so I know that there's more on here, that didn't make it on the list, but I didn't, cause I know we've talked about a couple.
Well, I sent you a list independently before, because you had asked us to email you without copying the universe. So I sent you one probably a couple days before you got Cindy's.
And then we
Did you
combined.
combine?
Yeah,
Okay.
so theirs is on there too.
Everything's in there, yeah.
Okay, cause I didn't
answer.
I didn't see
Okay.
yours. Okay, all right, I'll double check. Anyway, first off, I would just want to say, thank you. I think this is all, you know, part of the healing process, working forward, and opening up those lines of communication. As somebody in my capacity who's done a lot of things, there's, in my opinion, two massive relationship killers. And I don't care if it's in a marriage or in a business or a partnership. And those two factors are communication and expectation. And if communication breaks down, and if we can't, effectively communicate, just like you guys are telling me about, be nice to get better response times and things, communicate that, okay? And then setting expectations, and then I was able to set expectations and responding within 48 hours, which I think I owe you an apology then if I didn't respond to yours. But anyway, having this, and being able to work through this, working, through the challenges, maybe not hyper-focusing on we want to do it better, but focusing on making this building healthy in all ways, I think is paramount. So, but I think some of this, depending on, I guess, how the vote goes tonight, will be, I don't know, well, we'll see who gets to deal with it.
And sorry to keep continue,
Okay.
but, the way the CCNRs work is commercial has a representative, the residence has a representative, and then there's call it an open seat. And then the board decides amongst themselves who will have each position.
Yes.
So, and the president cannot also be the secretary.
Correct.
Okay, that's the only restriction on the board, but that is not determined by the vote of the whole association. So I just, because there was some confusion about that, and I just wanted to, make sure.
And what I would propose is that, with some of these grievances and some of these things, want to add more people, I would say, that would be, bring it to the next board meeting. And does everybody realize that, that meetings can happen, besides just the regular scheduled board meetings? Emergency meetings can happen. You as owners can, call for meetings.
20% ownership can call a meeting.
So, yeah. So, just throwing that out there in case people didn't know that. Okay. So, to get this, kind of out of the way, commercial is, and also as far as, showing up, making, changes to participation and things like that, I think that's, I saw that in the grievances, couldn't agree with more, and whether or not we need to implement, those into the bylaws or what have you, and so, make it a point to, go forward with that after, I guess, we, get through this portion here, so we can kind of adjourn this evening. But, so, for commercial, we have one ownership in that, one position, so commercial would be Dave. Make sense? Okay. So, then we would have the position specifically for residential. Okay, so once again, this is to the board, this isn't to a position on the board. So, would anybody like to either nominate somebody or nominate themselves for a position on the board who is a residential representative? Telling everybody to jump up all at once.
I have a couple preferences of some names that Julie Manalides had on here. I can read them out if the people are wanting to.
Sure.
it's
Yes.
kind of unorthodox, but maybe just somebody's, just
I mean,
needs a little
nobody
nudge to
wanna,
say, sure, I'll
nobody
try.
wants to represent the residents here?
She liked the name Barry Bentley. She liked the name, Anna Marie. And she liked, let's see here, one more. No, Anna Maria Wagner, excuse me. And, I think those were the names she gave me to read out, that she thought if they wanted to run, she'd like. So, a little
Well, we-
orthodox, but maybe it's kind of like a
Just-
suggesting name, Barry.
Just so you know, the residents have been talking a little bit about this, and there are there are just a number of circumstances that are, yeah.
This is out of turn. I would nominate Barry for an at-large board position. Barry is not an owner.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm trying to think, is there anything in our, do they have to be an owner, is it an owner representative? Does any, and does anybody have any kind of,
I asked a question at the end of last meeting to you, I didn't see anything specific, but I don't have a problem personally with Barry representing, the residential, interests. I don't know what the CCNR say or don't say,
I would like to donate Barry and Matt.
Yeah.
so I would second that.
Do you want me to vote for you?
Well, I think we need to restructure the board to something other than three, though.
Well,
we
But
have
let's
to do
start
that
with this.
after.
Yeah.
And if you're on the
Yeah.
board,
If
you
you're on
can
the
do
board,
it.
you
As
can do
long as
that.
that's on the table as a legitimate option, yeah, like 5 is a valid number. And the
He's a
reason I say
resident.
this, the reason I say this
He's not an
is
owner.
not because of numbers, I say it because we need assignment of officers. We don't have correct assignment of officers. If we had assignment of officers, namely a legitimate secretary,
Secretary, treasurer.
a treasurer,
That's
And a
the
president.
board business
that's,
though, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we can do it with 3 board members. I think we have too many work products to produce with just 3 board members.
Oh, the board can assign committees,
I-
subcommittees, they don't vote, but they,
Of course they can, but I think it should be a board level restructure. I think 3 is not a good number. 5 is a good number,
So are you saying
but if we can
that
address that later.
you would accept the nomination if the board will voice a willingness to be open to that
Yes.
discussion?
Yes, but dismissing it, summarily doesn't make any sense to me without consideration, because there's so many things that we could do that would really make a big difference for this association, and we simply are spread too thin with the board members that we have and their expertise. So I think we really need to do that. But yeah, I could be on the board, but I think we need to really look beyond three members only. If we're worried about a power struggle, that's the wrong thing to worry about. We need to worry about, like the favorite word that people have last year is an existential threat to this association.
We need to make sure we don't have one.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you finding out down there?
Well, so I could miss it, it's a lot of writing here and a lot of stuff during the day. But I don't see I don't see the limitation that there has to be like an owner per se on the board. I would certainly think that if everybody here had no problem with it, that would really make it a non-issue. So I don't see a limitation to that. Now, granted, I don't do this kind of all day, but I don't see a limitation to that. To add a board member would require a significant vote. I believe it's a 2/3 majority, because that would be a significant change in the restructure. So there's a different level of, nope, am I wrong?
No. it's
What
just a-
was the number to add a board member?
It's just it is a simple vote. The board
The board itself. can do it.
can vote on additional board members.
The board can do it now.
Can you show me where?
Yeah, yes.
And it's not that I
I
don't
gotta-
believe you, it's just that I had a hard time seeing that. I thought it was the kind of.
It's actually
in the bylaws? So I thought in the bylaws it said, so in here it says there's up, no less than 3, right, no less than 2, and no more than 5 is in the CCNR's specific limitations,
Yeah.
correct?
And then in the bylaws it explains.
And then it says, We can, you and I can confer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to go through it. Like I
Sure.
said, I'm happy to be wrong
I'll
if I am.
drop down to your office.
Yeah, come on down. And then,
It's really nice.
and then, let's see here.
But I think for the sake of this right now, I think we're just talking.
Talk about the open,
About the,
Yeah.
just the open idea of it, to have discussion.
Yes, sir.
Well, then, I guess we can table our
Yeah.
specific one. Cool.
Yeah, I only say that removal of directors is a 2/3 vote. The voting power of the applicable class. So I see that one, but I mean, this
Well, that
is
would,
just.
well, okay, so that's what I was referring to. It's, if you wanna, we'll just go look at it. I think we're just gonna burn a lot of time on
Okay.
details. Yeah,
Fine.
yeah, I think it is.
Okay, so, I hear and like I said, I don't, we could have, well,
Is it-
if
yeah.
there wasn't
Probably a
one that they-
resident should move,
Yeah.
and I heard something over here.
yeah,
Second, I think we had a second and
I had a
third.
directive, I had to read it.
Okay.
second or third or whatever.
So,
Vote for
all
Barry.
in favor of Barry, for the board, say aye.
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 All opposed, 100%.
Okay, can I just say, Kathy, you moved, right?
I did.
And who seconded? Who was the
there's-
second?
there's
Oh,
like-
I seconded
there's
it.
like
Oh, yeah.
six-
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like 6 seconds, so
Yeah.
take your pick.
He said he's got no
Sorry.
problem now.
It's the next guy.
It's the next guy you go for.
Yeah, it was a,
Yeah.
it's a
Can we get a
backhanded
t-shirt
second, but
that
it's a
says that?
second.
I mean, the irony is that in the world of
Yeah.
motions and boards, this is the most important thing for legal reasons. And
Right.
it's like, it's crazy, but we have to have that, yeah. So,
Okay, so, last vote, and that would be for the, third and final, board member. Any nominations and or self-nominations?
Why nominate you?
Okay, nomination for Tom Ross.
I'll second you.
yeah.
Oh, well, wait, let's see if anybody else wants to run against, because
Well,
just to do it right. In that attempt.
I'm gonna stay the assistant secretary.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I said, I'm just gonna stay this assistant secretary.
We'll have a committee of secretaries.
I'm not a board member, I'm just saying, I'm just serving as the secretary.
I wanna
She
see
asked if
She's
I-
She's
I
not
wanna-
throwing her
kind of
name in
the-
Yeah, I'm
the
not
hat.
throwing my name in
A
there.
communications director.
Okay.
Next year.
Don't question it.
Yeah.
All right, fading here, guys.
Yeah.
Any other nominations for board?
For the at-large seat.
Yeah, the third position at large, I guess, whatever. you wanna call it.
So we already did. Yeah, so we already.
Anna Marie seconded.
Who seconded it?
Anna Marie seconded.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We just have to vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I guess it's 100%. I guess.
I
Okay.
would like to request an agenda item at the next board meeting that you guys publicly decide who is in what position and it be shared via minutes to all owners.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, that will absolutely happen.
Assignment of officers.
Absolutely.
Not
Not,
twice.
I'm not getting
Yeah.
struck by that lightning twice.
Exactly.
We are educable.
Yeah, before we close, this is my, I don't know how to move this, the front door, in the morning I go down and pick the paper up very early and it's open. But during, it's about the third or fourth time now, when I go down at 6:30, there's a woman in the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, I don't
So-
know, I don't like the door
Is that-
locked all the
that
time.
morning,
police
and that
got
early in the
Every
morning?
time, a couple, yeah, I told him, I said,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be here.
I thought
several
it didn't
times.
open that early.
Oh, it's early, well, I go down about 6:30.
So we're seeking a remedy, to see if,
yeah.
to see if we, can get
Poor thing, I mean, you
a
feel
code
bad
or
when you-
something, key fob.
I sent you that note, didn't I?
You did,
Yeah.
thank you. And, yeah, I,
Does everybody know the police came the other day?
I don't know, I didn't make a big deal. so.
People at 102 called me. Told me about the problem.
Okay, it's up
I
now.
called the police, put a report in for illegal trespass. But by the time they got here, she
Gone,
was
I know.
sauntered off.
I know.
And, so they're asking me for,
Then-
feedback on
And then,
what I thought.
then, that same, the next morning, then she was the same person, it was the same person, she was sitting on the north side, on the steps, you know, going by the driveway, she was sitting down on the sidewalk.
Down on the south side?
Yes, same person, same,
She was in
I'd
the
like to
lobby.
Speak up about this.
what?
This is somebody's mother or daughter
Agree,
or cousin. It's a person. Let's have some compassion for
I
this
do,
person.
it's not
And
that
find
at all.
out whether there is some kind of women's
There is.
facility that can receive her and help her.
I'm sure
because
there is, and maybe
she's
she's been there,
desperate.
but who
She
knows?
has
We
no
don't
place
know.
to
Yeah,
go.
we don't know.
And we don't really know what her circumstances
No,
are,
no.
obviously. But it's not a matter for the police. It's a matter to find out, where she could go to get help.
We went through all that about a year ago, and they said the best thing to do is get ahold of the police, then they can take her to the facility that's been recommended, that can help her and give her food, shelter, and clothing, whatever she needs. But, sometimes you gotta, steer the people,
Right.
and it isn't like she's being arrested, she's helped by the police. And the police used to be really good at that, I don't know how they are anymore.
They
But,
have plenty of things to worry about.
There
what's
are-
that?
They have plenty of things to worry about, and a nonviolent person,
Yeah, I guess it
there
comes.
was a shooting down here just 10 days ago
Yeah.
so,
Hard
Little old
streets of
Edmonds.
Edmonds.
yeah.
Well,
I've got a thing right here, November 11th, 2022, Housing Emergency Shelter and Homeless Services, Snohomish County. We've tried to tell these people, hey, there's a place here, you can go, they'll help you. But Lloyd, they just keep coming back.
Yeah, a lot of, cause there's some people that are looking for help, and then there's those people that, they wouldn't mind the help, but because of their situation, their addiction, they're not welcome, into some of those places, which is unfortunate. I've been down a couple of times when, I can't remember her name now, but, when the gal was out here and what she was doing, besides getting out of the rain, was she was charging her phone
Yeah, she
on
used
one of
it.
the outlets. So I went and changed out the outlet, so I put a lock on it so that it would kind of take away the enticement of doing that. So it's stuff like that, and we might, have to continue to police this a bit. I think that, there's that compassionate aspect, but at the same time, if they're doing vandalism, if they're stealing a little bit of power from us. But I guess the biggest thing is that, we have had some vandals, we have had some, some property destruction, and that's what we wanna try and, work towards, and who knows, maybe, some cameras would be good, but then we just watch them do whatever they're doing, but it is a thing. But Bob sent me a deal the other day. He was looking up, our Door King, thanks.
Yeah.
And to see if we might just have the thing locked, and then give not only our residents, but also our, commercial people a code that then they could give their clients. They punch in, and, might make it feel exclusive, might make them feel like, that as soon as they walk into our doors, they've got a safe spot. I don't know. But it might be a little bit of a headache, but at the same time, if it prevents messes in our bathrooms in commercial, if it prevents,
Yeah.
You know, your packages getting stolen, cause you know, so many of your packages get dropped off down here. If you ever seen your package just magically show up in front of your doorstep, it's probably cause I was down here and I saw you had a package
Yeah,
down there.
we do that.
I do
Took-
that all the
yeah,
time.
and so,
I do too.
and that's, you know,
I do too.
yeah, and cause otherwise, you know, somebody walks in and now they just walked out with your case of wine or whatever it is.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of,
Case of wine?
keep on, well, I'm like thinking of all the stuff I have to switch over to a new address, so yeah,
Well,
I have wine occasionally.
So the key fob thing kinda got shut down because.
Or
of-
the code, this code is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but we thought, you know, because we have these doors that are upstairs that, are never locked.
Yep.
You know, on the second and third floor, and maybe, you know, nobody likes carrying around keys or they're broken or, you know, go get the, you know, fobs for that. And then, you know, the cleaner can have a fob and you guys can have a fob and you guys can give a fob to whoever you wanna give a fob to.
At Point Edwards, the delivery people even have that code to get into the buildings.
Well, see, yeah, if you get a package, you know, a package delivered, you enter the instructions, you know, the code for delivery is 1111 or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they can deliver to you, and now it's also kind of behind locked door as well. So, so we're looking into that, so, but yes, thanks for letting us, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Yeah, I definitely support any of that, that's, I think, a good.
Just to,
Yeah.
just to
Gonna get
wrap
cleared out.
this up, have we got a date? Just kind of, what's the order here in terms of the new budget, or the budget, and notification, and then ratification, so. Those are kind of outstanding items.
They are, and then we could set dates, but I'd be guessing, seriously, I don't. I mean, I know there's, from the point of, budget approval by the board to, you know, to the ratification meeting is 14, it'll be between 14 and 50 days. But, you know, 14 is the minimum, but,
How quickly can you get some meaningful commercial numbers for that chunk of the budget? That's probably the biggest unknown.
Let me have 48 hours and I will respond with that time frame.
I wonder if my emails to you have gone to spam, because I sent you a couple of them that you didn't answer, and I was surprised.
No, I've been,
Cause I know
I've
you've
been
been
pretty
working really hard at that.
yeah, so,
So I'm gonna just make a note, the next meeting is TBD, and, Tom will communicate.
for the budget, yes, for the budget, because we'll still end up having a board meeting, you know, I'm still gonna try and, well, I'm talking out of turn, but I think that it would be a good idea to keep our monthly meeting,
Okay, well, thank you.
and whether it's a Thursday or whatever, but to at least have that,
Okay.
but the budget meeting needs to be,
Thank you.
whenever, as fast as it can happen, realistically, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything really robust for that. I think we just need to get a start on it, and that way we can build into it
Yeah.
a better process for next year.
Yeah, so, but I think in 48 hours, I'll have, the date that we should be
Yeah.
able to have that completed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
And what was the final about the bank account? I'm still unclear on that.
There
That we're
will
gonna
be a
have-
separate bank account for the reserve.
I know, but who's gonna be the signers besides
All
these two
board,
guys?
all three board members,
So that'll be Mary.
yes, yes.
And then 2 signatures required,
This
and
looks
that won't be
lovely.
decided who until
Well,
the board meets, but it sure ought to be one of them an owner's rep, and one of them from
I think,
the Ross family.
I don't even care if I'm on it. The only nice thing about being, I don't know if I can have access to see it, you know, but I don't know, it's just another thing that I end up having to deal with for myself anyway. But I guess the other thing is that in the event, that somebody isn't available, but 3 signers, two required, you know, for, and then 3 if we're doing the Is ours?
Reserves 3.
Yeah, if we're putting it into a, whatever we're gonna end up doing with it. You guys just have to do with it, really, so. That's my brother's world. I'm real estate, my brother's a financial planner, investor. That's his world, and so, yeah, so. All right, so, is there any other pieces of business, or?
Did I send you the document around the segregation of duties? Sort of, I did that research on best practices for
Okay.
owners association, okay.
Okay.
So I was hoping maybe you guys would have a conversation about that.
Yeah, you need to.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was great. That was really, really nice. Yeah.
Tom, we have some other things, you know, I had a really good conversation on Friday with Joe. I was really encouraged by that, and basically the bottom line is, you know, there's a whole bunch of money out there, and if we all got together and worked together to get it, it's there for the taking. And we'd be really smart in spending our energy going after that. And we've had some other changes too. Do you wanna talk about those?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Our attorney? We've been released
Yeah, well, I thought that was something that had been,
by John Burley.
that was something that, you said you released us.
That just happened. Happened last week.
I thought he released us.
No, you're thinking about Western Washington Law Group.
Is that McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Are they doing anything on that case?
Were they?
Are they?
No, they've released us.
So Burley's released us.
Both of them have.
Both of them have. Oh, okay.
Maybe I can give you guys, try to do the 1 minute high level, because everyone's tired, and keep it short. So you guys, I think, voted to bring lawsuits against, the insurance company Philadelphia related to the sprinkler causing the flood, back in 2021, 22?
2019.
Oh, geez, okay. So I think your attorneys brought lawsuits against, the insurance company for the moving company that caused all the flooding, okay? That insurance company has $300,000, and that insurance company lawyers are saying, hey, from what I understand, we don't wanna fight over this, we're just gonna give them $300,000, we're gonna let people who fight over this, who think they're owed this, fight it out, which they're just gonna put it in the registry of court. So what that means then is, the people who are making claims on that money, I think, basically are two people lawfully. That is the HOA collectively, because there possibly are unreimbursed claims that the insurance provider didn't pay you for already, okay? And then the insurance company, for the amount of money it paid you, has a right to go after that $300,000 in something we call subrogation. And so really it's gonna come down to, can you come up with enough claims or damages that Philadelphia hasn't already paid you? And in order to do that, I think you have claims that never got paid, right? And I believe the HOA has probably a deductible and some co-pays or things like that never got reimbursed. So the best way to do it is to come up with as much damages as you can, and then try to get a mediation going with the insurance company wants to throw the $300,000 in, Philadelphia over here, and you got one other outlier, that's ServPro, who overcharges everybody. They didn't discriminate against you. Wish they would have, because then maybe they would have charged you less. But ServPro is vicious, they're nasty. They overcharge people who are in bad situations when they're flooding. They do it across the board. And so they got paid by your insurance company, but there's an amount they didn't get paid. They're saying, well, you're gonna get paid it all, and they sued the HOA from what I can understand. So there's just, it's like the five corners of New York are coming together on y'all. And the only way to solve it really is to get probably mediation going. Now that's a mediation you have to get everybody to drop all their claims and agree to how to split the money.
What does Servpro think that we owe them?
Bob?
It's about $65,000-$70,000.
And then, what do we think is short in terms of, the claims that, have been paid? How much short are the insurance companies?
Well, we know that there was $38,000 that was a deductible and a $10,000 fee. We needed to get carpet redone in the front. There was electrical bills, there were attorney's fees because we had to go to court to get Philadelphia to agree to defend us.
What are the attorney fees? I'm already in my.
Those weren't terribly big.
So I'm up to about 115 in my head right now.
Well, Joe thinks, I've got, Cindy and I have a little bit, the Longs have a significant amount. Jim Lockhart, his insurance company has 5,000, so there's maybe 20,000 between the three of us.
So what I'm getting at is it's not gonna do any good to try to squeeze Servpro out more. They're just getting everything they want, I guess.
Well, they've agreed with the subrogation attorney that Philadelphia employed to take like 40 grand, but they've done nothing. Okay, they've just been sitting there, and it's kind of like I'm almost wishing that they would come and go after us so we could get Servpro or get Philadelphia to act. But I just got copies of all the documentation from Philadelphia that included the Mike Meeks fake deal that he did on 101, where he submitted a whole bunch of bills, no proof of payment, and took $10,000 out of the account that Philadelphia, and then on top of that, we got all the information from Philadelphia on the actual flood itself, and so.
The only two priorities though that make sense would be Servpro, get the claim off of us with Servpro. That's number one, because they can own the whole building if they want.
Right.
For $65,000, we gotta get rid of that. And then we gotta make everybody whole. That's the only thing that matters. So if that's under $300,000, then it would be nice if that could go into HOA reserves, but it sounds like it can't. Is that correct? Through subrogation, others would be fighting for it. Who's fighting for it?
Philadelphia is
Who's
basically
fighting?
laying a claim to that 300,000.
Yeah, okay.
And so I think they paid out what,
Even though
290?
they only paid $296, they
So-
want all 300.
So
That's a pretty
Progressive
good
has
deal,
the
huh?
300, right?
Yes,
And then
that's
They
right.
want- they want
So
it-
Philadelphia would subrogate for
That's-
that money that we want to put in the reserves. Legally, could we put it in the reserves?
I think so. I think
Through a mediator?
I think so. I think that as long as you agree to settle the case where the HOA would get the money, right? You all can allocate it how you want, right? I think that, so a little background, and I want to keep this type it short, is that I originally sued on behalf of Dave, but the problem was we didn't have standing to sue. What that means is Dave didn't own the
Understand.
building at the time the damage occurred.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a right to sue,
Yeah,
so
sure.
I had to drop my lawsuit because
Yeah.
we just weren't there unlawfully.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some damages Dave can put on the table to add to it, and here's the thing, so Dave doesn't have the ability to go get it on his own. And you guys' claim will be enhanced by working together, so it's kind of a win-win scenario.
It sounds like there's gonna be
They've definitely
sufficient
benefits.
therapy. What we need to do is we need to inventory and gather and then sum
Yes.
the claims.
You got it.
That's really that's the piece that we're missing. Once we have all that information, we can go to mediation and then we can get a.
You got it. If you aggregate your damages, and
We
I'm
could
happy
get
to
it
look
just,
at this.
so would that be administrative, or that would just be the administrative judge?
No, so it's that's that voluntary process we
Okay.
discussed before.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that, so I'm willing to look at this, okay? So I think that if you do this, you wanna get like an attorney who's not gonna charge you by the hour and do all this, because
Give them
you
a
want-
piece. What would be a normal rate? 30%?
a third typically, yeah, a lot of lawyers are charged more, but if you get it done this quickly, there's not much work to be done, so more than a third's not fair, so I would do a third at most. So my suggestion would be, do step one, which is aggregate the claims of the damages, get those together, and then we could propose a mediation. So just be clear, I'm not agreeing to be the attorney, but I'm not throwing it out, okay? Cause I have to be clear when I engage. I have a bunch of ethical duties, and it's very, it's like any profession. I gotta make sure I'm being clear that I'm not agreeing to be the attorney. I'm not throwing it out. Happy to help y'all. And if we can get to a mediation and bang them out in one day, I mean, I do mediations all the time. This is like my bread and butter constantly, so.
Can we get a deadline for the summation of the claims?
I think that'd be a great, thing for the board to jump on, my suggestion, I mean, I'm saying I do your business, but I think that'd be a great item of, business.
So this would be, Dave, and it would be Kathy?
I've got most
It
of
would be
that
you?
stuff.
You got it, okay. All right, if we already have that, then.
Yeah, I already submitted.
Then the 90,000 for the attorney would be worth it, and we could put some in the reserves too.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, I mean, the nice thing is if you do a contingency, it's like, whatever you recover, right?
Yeah.
And then that way you're not out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's really tough to be out of pocket in these kinds of
Is it a
situations.
net
when you are-
recovery that you pay the third on, or the?
That's gross, it's always gross. Yeah, we always win at the end. We rigged it, we made the rules, I hate to break it to you.
All right.
But here's the good news is that, look, like I said, I'm not agreeing to take it, but let's say I look at it, let's say you did a good job putting your damages together. Let's say it takes me one day of work, I'm not gonna charge y'all for it, okay? Like, y'all, I know I get heated in here, but like, I live here too. I mean, I don't sleep here, well, I have before, but I don't sleep here. I'm happy to
Yeah.
help, like, if this is something I do all the time.
It's in our best interest to all agree in terms of what each individual's claims are, and what you expect and what we can get out of it.
I think so, and it
If
has
we
to
can
be.
do that, then we
Yes.
can help out the association, you can get paid and be done. And in terms of like, putting something like Mike Meeks in there, I think we'd leave that out completely.
That was my suggestion entirely, because there's too much hair on that ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all that's gonna do is pollute the entire.
I couldn't agree more with you,
Yeah.
and in a nutshell, on a business level, the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
I'm just talking about
Yeah.
what's gonna work, it's not gonna work if we do, if we include Mike Meeks.
The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, it's for lots of reasons, it's a challenging claim regardless of how motivated you be. But I agree with you, Barry, on, I agree with you. So I think that's the wise route, and I think the wise route is to go after that money together.
And we need to make the subrogation angle look deficient to Philadelphia, so they'll back off on that.
They do, and you have a little bit of leverage on them in the sense that ServPro still sued you, and they're still claiming they're owed this, and you have a duty, you have a right to they have a duty to defend you as the insured. So it's a legal duty they have.
Yeah.
I'll get into more of that later with y'all if you wanna go to needles of that. But you got a little bit of leverage on them where you can say, hey, you kinda hung us out to dry here, Philadelphia, you don't have a clean hands, and so you
Okay.
gotta bring that to the game. And
That's
that's all,
excellent,
those are all
yeah.
things you can push the ball on.
Okay, yeah, thanks for explaining that, appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, no, thanks. So, yeah, anyway, that's about as quick as attorneys get.
So that can be next board business?
It's not gonna take him just a
Well,
day.
we
just
should
after
be
hearing
working
that
on
guy.
it before.
Yeah.
Well, if you all aggregate the claims and do the heavy lifting,
Yeah,
it
we
could.
just need, we just need to get, whoever is on those claims that need to be, summed, if you could just like agree that that's right,
Claims, do the heavy.
that's the right amount.
I don't know,
Then we
Barry's
can use it
pretty
to run with it.
detail oriented.
This is the email
Pull
address.
together the numbers.
My stuff went too much back.
The numbers are, I mean, you've done all of Dave's numbers, right? He gave
It's
you
not
all
important.
for the work
There
that
were a
didn't get
couple
completed and so
Some.
on.
That's what you were gonna
I've worked with worse.
go after?
I'll turn them down.
This was
Yeah,
through limitation, all these
Figure it out.
There is a statute of limitations,
just
which you
wanted to
already
make sure
met
that it
when
was
you
gone.
filed the lawsuit.
Do you think
So the lawsuit's already ended.
your piece was?
So you met the statute.
Oh, it's over a hundred
Yeah,
grand.
statute,
So,
You
if
get,
that's
you
what
get
goes on
years,
here, that's the thing.
weeks, something,
Back
yeah.
that after a couple months,
And you
the
get 6
picture.
years.
Well,
Both
Yeah.
of you.
well,
I mean, if we.
Oh, well, you've already sued.
Commercials.
You've already sued, you've already
I
sued,
mean, if the commercial's gonna get.
the company that was the moving company.
It's just,
So,
we just need to do it.
you already got them on board, and that 300 is already ready to go to court.
exactly.
So you already met the deadline.
But there would have to be, you know,
No problem.
there has to be evidence that.
Yeah, you just gotta compete with your insurance company over it, or they're gonna say, well,
Yeah,
we don't
really
full,
make
we're gonna say,
Oh,
So-
no,
so everybody-
no,
Yeah.
no.
yeah.
Like I said,
See if we can get you guys,
I know,
pay
I know.
pay for a couple
up
months.
until, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I anything,
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
you know,
See where
I
I
would
go.
never have
And you know what he
buy
did to
this
you?
building, number
He
one.
made you think
But
that
he
Dallas
went with my competition.
was
Yeah.
the basic manager of the HOA,
Yeah.
and he was only representing the FCA.
So anyway, but yeah, but that's why he tried to go after him.
Alright.
He couldn't.
We've got a lot of sidebars, maybe we should, adjourn.
Such a
Okay,
waste.
all right, all right, folks, adjourn, thank you, it's, oh, my bedtime, 8:20.
Okay.
But if you wanna hang out and visit and socialize and pop a cork or something, you know? I had to go home, boy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And, yeah, I'm gonna get some stuff. Oh, and by the way, also another one of those things, that lockbox, code's been changed, and the only other one out there is the real estate one for gaining access, and so, yeah, we won't have, anybody else with any masters or access to masters or anything
Oh,
like that.
fantastic. So who on the residential has access? There should be probably one, cause we're here 24/7. What?
Well, so,
I'll take the chairs.
well, so,
Actually, that doesn't matter.
yeah, so there's the one in the hallway, which I think, I don't even know.
By the stairwell, you mean?
The stairway, stairwell
Yeah,
one.
Pedro knows that one.
So just,
Okay.
this one has been, you know, up to this point, like the contractors, whatever, and I mean, the code is, 0417. I don't think it really.
I doubt, I mean,
But-
I don't think we need to.
But in the event that, you know, there was an emergency of, you know, somebody had to, you know, gain access, plumber,
Any
flood,
kind of damage in the building.
maybe fire department, well, they've got
They have-
knockbox out there, so I don't actually know.
So what I would suggest, if that code is given out to anybody, that there's notification, that at least the first time, like if there's contractors that have access to a master key. I wish it wasn't a master key, but,
But insurance company.
Total.
there
cost.
should be
So
notification
then,
to all
you
of
go
the people
back
who would,
And you would have to
whose
pay.
locks could be accessed by that key.
I'm wondering if,
Make up the difference.
change monthly, the code.
Each person, depending on their percentage.
Yeah.
at
Are you talking about the code on
25%
those?
we're at,
Oh,
Everybody would have to come up with
Well-
this amount of cash.
I mean, what's the problem? The problem that
You do
I see
and I
and I'm
don't.
trying to solve
We
is
don't rebuild.
having
And
people
three
with
go,
running, having a master key that opens up all the residences' doors and storerooms and all that kind of stuff.
That doesn't work very well.
And,
It's hard
and
to
all the
keep people
commercial
out.
spaces,
Well,
without,
Would you like to
without
go home,
people
young
being
lady?
aware of it.
I'm almost wondering,
She looked the same till we moved in 28 years ago.
So anyway,
I mean, I guess,
at this amount of money.
what I was thinking when I was processing is that, you know, basically a master,
You can go to the bank.
that would do residential, a master
Shade your
that,
101, your,
do short commercial.
How short it was when
And
trying to
then
make
a master that would.
Okay,
do,
hopefully we can figure out a solution
You
to that
know,
work.
cause really,
I mean, seriously,
um,
that'd make a lot of these issues go
doesn't
away.
really make sense for,
Well, it's good that you filed.
why would I ever need to go into
Because
anybody's house?
you filed with the
Yeah,
statute
I
of
mean-
limitations.
Right.
You preserve your claim, that's a big
You
deal.
don't, it's,
So, you know,
But there
if you
may
had
be
done
a
that,
situation
shot.
where, you know, where
Damage that
somebody
comes
Well,
from
hey,
the-
thanks
residential
again.
might need to get into, you know, a control panel or a pump room or something like
that
that.
has happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tuck some little kids in, I'm sorry.
Only
Yeah,
enough
talk
to
me into
cover
it.
3 point something.
Okay,
So if you take.
well, I think this just needs, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be visiting.